Hey guys, Marvin and Keter. How's everybody doing on their end? Welcome to another theme Q&A discussion. Um, been having a lot of fun with these theme Q&As, and I'm here to deliver my answers to your various questions for a character that I had told you about, announced. So for the month of October, I decided to kind of keep it a little bit of a horror theme, but not so much. So I decided to do the character, have all your questions revolve around the Marvel character known as Mr. Eric Brooks, aka Blade. Um, Big fan of Blade, always have been. I'm not like some people that just got into him because of the movies or just got into him because of he first appeared. He made his appearance on the Spider-Man the animated series. No offense to anybody out there that have, but I was always aware and knew about Blade from the get-go, and you'll see my how far back my reaches go with him. But yeah, I'm here to answer your questions. So, as always, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer your questions that that were given to me via the announcement vid first, and then the questions that are on the live feed I'll answer as well. Okay. So I'm gonna go from the I'm gonna go oldest to newest from the comment section. I forgot to turn off the because I gave you a limit of time when you can give the questions, but I left it on by accident. Oh well, that's all good. So let's take a look at these questions, shall we? Let's see. All right, let's see. All right, let's look at the first question. First question. Here we go. First questions. Well, I'm just like I said. I'm just doing it the way it is. Okay, we'll start off with Young J Way. 1, 2, 3. And his first question is number one. Blade meets Sherlock Holmes. Who writes this crossover for you? All right. So we're taking the world's pretty much. If it wasn't for Sherlock Holmes, there would not be the great detective characters that we have today. I honestly believe that. So you got to thank a lot of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle for creating the legendary character of Sherlock Holmes. Now, if Blade was to meet Sherlock Holmes, it'd be interesting because it would have to revolve around maybe murders that are going on in England or something like that. I can't really. I mean, Sherlock has been outside of England, but it'd be really cool to see Blade come back home to London. But it would probably be a time travel. For me, Jay, I would probably have to say, hmm, who I think could write a good story. I would say probably Mark Wade, but I think Greg Rucka could probably rock it too. Yeah, I think he could do a good job. Matt Wagner, I think, could also do a good job. Uh, Man, there's a couple of writers I would add up in there. Yep. Blade versus Wolverine in pure sword play. Who wins? Uh, um, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a draw because Logan has learned the art of Bushido, the way of the samurai. So it's not like he's not. He knows how to use a sword very well. Blade too. So I kind of give it a draw. I say a draw. The just because of the knowledge that Wolverine, it's I give it a draw. Yeah. Next question is who would you want to play Blade besides Wesley Snipes? I'd say either Michael Jai White, who I think might be a little too muscular to play Blade, or Lance Gross. He's virtually unknown outside of the Tyler Perry world, but I think he could pull it off. Okay. Who do I think could play Blade outside of Wesley Snipes? Actually, Michael Jai White would probably could do it. He's not as muscular. He's not as big as he used to be. He's trimmed down now. He's trimmed down, so he would be up there. Another actor I could see probably pulling off Blade is oh, what is his name? God, not Orlando Jones. I think people got confused in thinking that he was going to be Blade, but he's not. Uh, oh man, what is his name? Uh, he's on he's on he's on Empire now. No, not Empire. I think it's Empire, or he's on the show that comes on Stars with that is produced by 50 Cent. He, I think he could pull it off. I'm forgetting his name. Um, but if anything, yeah, Unknown could probably do a good job as well. I even think still to this day, I would really like to see Morris Chestnut play a hero, and I think Morris Chestnut could probably pull off Blade. If not him, not Blade, I would love to see Morris Chestnut be uh, Black Lightning. I think he could pull off Black Lightning pretty good. There's a couple of actors I could see playing uh, unknowns that are not very known, but I can see a couple of well known African American actors playing the role. Be really even cool is if they get an actor who is black but has a British accent, because Blade is British. People forget that he was born in England, and he was so it's cool. But yeah, um, what is your favorite Blade moment? Favorite Blade moment? Mm, we talking comics, or are we talking just period? Uh, period movie wise as well. Because if it's movie wise, one of my favorite moments in that was still to this day is where Blade Wesley Snipes broke character for Blade when he got shot up by the cops, and he's like, "Motherfucker, you out of your damn mind!" That shit had me laughing. That still to this day is just the funniest moment. In comic wise, that's movie wise. In comic wise, a lot of the moments I like with Blade comes from a lot of hardship. So it's not really. I really don't want to. I really don't think I want to spoil that. But one moment I would say was really good is seeing seeing Blade pretty much make his debut. That's a moment. He made his debut, even though he had the most goofiest costume. That old school Blade is not a joke, but it is too funny not to laugh at. I think a lot of people, if you tell Blade, you want to see Blade, old school Blade, go back and look at Tomb of Dracula. You'll see what I'm talking about. And you see Blade, and he's got the, he's got the fro, he's got the afro, which is cool, no problem. It's back then, brothers wore that, that mini fro, but he's got these goofy neon goggles with this bright neon trench coat, along with brown pants, high, I believe high black boots, and it just it's like if how can you be taken too seriously and with that? That's pretty. It's kind of funny if you think about it. It's kind of funny. But no, that's just funny. But yeah, those are some moments of Blade that I like. Um, but there's more. But The appearance of Blade was a moment. That was a moment. John Netherton, you come with a question. If you were running Marvel, who would you have write a Blade series? I would have Mark Wade, or even try to get Frank Miller to do it. Oh, uh, Mark Wade, probably I would try to get if I was running Marvel. I would not go after Frank Miller, guys. You know I'm not the biggest Frank Miller fan. Uh, if I was running Marvel, I would say Greg Roca, Nathaniel Edmondson. Edmondson, I think he could do a good job with Blade, and Christopher Priest. Oh, John Priest. Priest to come back and write Blade. I think he could knock it out of the park. Uh, who is your favorite Blade villain? That's the problem, John. Blade does not really have a big rogues gallery. When you think about it, most of his villains are either vampires or just out there. But when you think about Blade, the first person that comes to your mind is Deacon Frost. But I'm gonna go with Dracula, the real Marvel Dracula. Yeah, that's that's a badass villain for him. Another one would be his father, his birth father, and I'm gonna get into that later on. Uh, Lilith, she is the she's the daughter vampire, crazy, sick. The mother of all monsters, like I said, Lilith. There was a couple of people. Hmm. Okay, John Netherton, you say what was your favorite Blade story arc? This is where I'm going to talk about. During the late 1990s, I believe 1990s, early 2000s, Mark Guggenheim, the same writer, same guy who is the producer on Flash and Arrow and all those, was writing Blade. And basically it was a two-part story that involved a man that Blade would finally know to be his father, his birth father, that his biological father, not the one that got his mom pregnant, knocked his mom up. He was in jail, and we get to see a little bit of his backstory. He was committed of a crime he didn't commit, and he's in jail, and one of his cellmate was telling him, because he was dying of cancer anyway. He was dying, and his cellmate told him like there's a way of curing that, and things like that. And I think his father's name was Lance, or Luke, yeah, Luke Gross. Um, and he was like, how can I cure it? And pretty much, basically, guys, the guy was turned him into a vampire, and it was then he went into this prophecy of sacrificing for virgin blood. He captured his son Blade, and he was gonna use Blade to do this ritual. He captured a young virgin girl, and stuck Blade in a cell with him. Now, this is when Blade was still on the serum, and his serum was he needed to feed because the serum was wearing off, and his father thought Blade would kill this woman. And Blade did the most heroic but gruesome thing I've ever seen him do in his history of comics. He sacrificed his own hand. He bit his own hand off because he was fanging up, and he broke free of his shackles, and he was fighting it though. You could see him fighting the hunger. He's just like, he's like, "Ugh." And so what did he just, all of a sudden, the next panel you just see, he just bit his hand, or he just started munching into his hand and tore his hand off, and he was able to free the woman. If I remember correctly, the woman got away, but still, that was a moment. That was an arc, or just a story arc that just was like, whoa. And they would continue that. Blade would get an amputated hand. He would get like a prosthetic hand and stuff. But later on, I guess they retconned all that stuff, because later on you saw him with his hand back, I guess, again. So his recoverative powers, I guess, kicked in. He can't. I don't. He can't grow another hand. You know, he just probably took the hand he chewed off and strategically put it back on. If I remember, he Shield gave him a new hand or something like that. I'm trying to remember what it was, but yeah, that was a moment right there. That was a moment and a story arc that I liked. Uh, so yeah, John, that was a good one. All right, let's see. Let's see what. Okay, any. Let me see. Make sure. All right. So far, let's see who's on here. Let's see what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Just checking the feed, guys. See what's going on. Jacob Harper. Hey, Chris, how you doing, bro? Thinking of questions. Hey, Jacob. Guys, everybody better know Jacob Harper is one of my oldest friends. Me and him known each other since third grade. So it's good to see Jacob. Hey, Jacob. It's good to see you, bro. As always, third grade. We've known each other since third grade. So let's get back to those questions. Let's see. So thanks Jay Young Jay for the questions, and I thank John Nettleton, John, for the questions as well. Linnerman, oh my God, Linnerman, how you doing, man? Uh, do you think the nobles from Vampire Hunter D would make great villains for Blade, or Skinner Sweet from American Vampire? Ooh, good question. Hell yeah. The villains that are in Vampire Hunter D, I would could make good Blade villains. I know about Skinner Sweet. Yes, not too much because I've never read all of American Vampire, but I know him, and yes, indeed, very much. Your next question is: if you were given an Old Man Logan style story, how would you go about doing it? Good question. Another good question. I'm liking these questions. This is good stuff right here. Uh, um, I'm not the biggest Mark Millar fan, guys. Everybody should know that. I'm not the big fan of his work. But Old Man Logan, I give him a lot of credit for. A lot of credit. Having said that, though, and that's probably some of his best work. That's just me personally. There would have to be a reason of doing an Old Man Logan story style storytelling. It would probably have to take place somewhere far in the future because Blade he ages really slow. Um, but it'd really be interesting to see an older Blade. Um, but it would really be to have to give some reason of. I'd feel that maybe mm, this is kind of hard because I wouldn't want to go the same route that Old Man Logan went. Like Blade did something that he kind of regrets, and most of the time, if you look at Blade, don't regret too much. Like he's kind of not cold, but he doesn't regret some things. But there are some things he does regret. Not saying he doesn't. But with Old Man Logan with Wolverine, what did he do? He killed the entire X-Men. And seeing that caused him just to try to commit suicide. But it didn't happen. Um, so it'd really have to do something with Blade. Maybe the vampires finally won this. Okay, here's the way I would probably do it. The vampires finally were able to take it over. Um, but doing so, Blade almost literally kind of the fight and struggle between trying to wipe out the world's vampires has really taken its toll on him. It's not just mentally, not just physically, but mentally. And physically would be hard because Blade doesn't really get tired too much, but mentally it's really wearing on him, and his Blade is like almost to the point of complete insanity in terms of they're never going to stop. I can't stop them. And knowing that all the allies that he's had, over his quest to rid the world of vampires have died or got turned, and he just can't keep going on. So more, it would be more of a storytelling of Blade's journey of trying to um, find himself once again in terms of, you know, in terms of basically getting back into the fight. That's the way I would do it. Um, so that's kind of how I would go about doing the battle. Is that Blade? He's kind of on hell's bent of trying to kill himself. So that's how I would kind of do an old man's Logan story style telling for Blade. Uh, that's just me personally. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Next up, let me load up the screen once again. See if anybody's commented. Any other comments? Okay. Just Jacob. Still here, Jacob? Thanks for joining me, dude. All right. Next up, your next question is: do you think Blade should get villainous hunters for a while? For a while, should get villainous hunters. I'm not really understanding the question. Are you trying to say should there be other hunters out there that are more vicious than him, or just villainous hunters? If that's the case, yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see that maybe hunters are hunting him. That'd be interesting. I mean, I think they have done that, but yeah, that'd be interesting. Thank you for the questions, Lerman. Let's move on to Green Arrow Hunter. Blade versus Buffy. Who wins? Ooh, the Daywalker versus the Slayer. I would feel that the fight between Buffy and Blade, especially, would go similar how the fight between Buffy and Angel has gone before. Um, Buffy has won, but I don't think they would kill each other because Buffy realized that he's kind of like Angel. He wants to rid the world of vampires. So I would see them nearly about to kill each other, but them stopping it. I don't see them killing each other. Blade just don't kill, especially uh, humans for just no reason. Uh, would you like to see Wesley Snipes come back to play Blade in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and even join the Avengers? All right. Uh, this has been a question that I probably was going to be getting. I figured I would not mind seeing Wesley Snipes come back as Blade. I really wouldn't. I think he's still got. I mean, Wesley is what, in his 50s. I think he's in his 50s now, so it'll be an older Blade. But I think I wouldn't mind it, and that Marvel has been talking to him again. And since that Blade is under with the cinematic universe now, I still feel that Blade should really come around after, especially Doctor Strange, when this whole supernatural universe starts opening up and feeling that's where you really should begin it. But personally, I wouldn't want to see a movie of Blade. I actually want to see a Netflix series of Blade. Like that's where you can really explore Blade. Like yeah, like that. As him joining the Avengers, no, I would really no, no. So no. Next question. How would you write a story where Blade kills all the vampires from Twilight? Oh boy, yeah, I'm not a fan of Twilight, guys. I never really was. I got cousins, female cousins. Uh, about about Twilight. I didn't watch the last. I saw a scene from the last one, the whole big fight scene, which turned out to be just a precog vision. I saw that and I was just like, okay, that was pretty interesting. But the vampires of Twilight are just really different and weird. Um, they don't die in sunlight; they sparkle and stuff like that. But if I was to have Blade go around killing them, there's got to be a major reason of why he's killing them. But I don't know. I can't really say. Blade just. I think what I would do is really showcase the world like the vampires of and some maybe in the werewolves because I think people forget that Blade just does not fight vampires. He fights all kinds of supernatural creatures, and I think the werewolves be like hear this legend of this guy. Like they call him the Daywalker. Like they'd be like, I've heard of him, but that's just a story. Next thing you know, he's coming and something like that. But I don't know if I really have Blade killed. but I bet you because you've seen that meme of one of the vampires running and Blaze walking up behind him, like that shit was funny though. It is what it is. Favorite Blade weapon. Blade has had several weapons in his comic career, but of course his traditional, the stakes, the his like shurikens that he throws, and I love his sword. He's always had a great sword, his blade. So I would say his blade. Get it? So yeah, that's cool. Uh, so thank you, Green Arrow Hunter, for the questions. Move on to the next. Let me go back to the live feed real quick and see what is happening. Okay, we have Perry King now here. Hey, Perry. Uh, and I'll get to those questions later. Jacob, still thinking of questions, bro? But let's move on to the questions at hand. Let's go back to those questions before. Darth Venom. Like I said, dude, I love that name. Would you like to see a Blade on Netflix? Mm-hmm. Blade on Netflix, definitely. I'd like to see Blade get a Netflix series. But still, I think it should happen after the events of Doctor Strange because you really with the series, it's still the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's just a different. It's like a corner of it, and you still need to explain where Blade has been all this time. The concept of vampires, what is it? Somebody asked said that the vampires could be man made, and I really don't want to go that route. I actually want them to be kind of supernatural s, like uh, you know. So, even from another dimension. Doctor Strange is going to be touching on the dimension. So what if vampires crossed over into our world and into this dimension and have start breeding and vampires, making vampires and things like that. So Sorry, guys, I was talking about that. So yeah, uh, vampires, maybe crossed over the a gateway has been opened now because of Strange, and now the vampires have been crossing over into the cinematic universe, and now vampires are there, and now they're being born. Okay, so yeah, uh, if Blade was in the DC universe, which villains would he fight? Any pretty much all the supernatural characters, Necron, all those characters. Uh, Probably would have a little bit of a. I would also like to see him fight Vandal Savage. That'd be really cool. I think confrontation between him and Etrigan would be really cool. So yeah, so there's a couple of people. Um, Maybe even I'm not. Oh man, maybe even a confrontation with Batman. Like well, you said villain, but I could see that. So it'd be cool. All right. How would you how would you make Blade Trinity into a better movie? Example, making Dracula an actual vampire, not some dude called Drake. Blade Trinity, of course, is probably the weakest out of the original Snipe movies. And, first of all, I would have, okay, here we go. A lot of people don't notice, but Whistler is not, was never really in the comic series. Blade never trained under Whistler. He trained under this, when he was growing up to become, he he was trained by this jazz musician who was actually a vampire slayer, and he was actually in disguise. It wasn't Whistler. Abraham Whistler was added later on, but that's for all those people who don't know. So if you want to do your research on who really trained Blade, there you go. I'm forgetting his name right now, but uh, that's some knowledge for all you guys out there that don't know a lot about Blade. I'm always here to educate. But um, First things first, I would have kept Jessica Biel, but I don't know if I would have probably made her Whistler's daughter. Uh, Hannibal King, played by Ryan Reynolds, would have been the real Hannibal King, just like Blade, because Hannibal King was a vampire. I would have kept him. I would. He would have been dead serious. So him and Blade teaming up, yeah. So yeah, that would have been it, definitely. And I would have had him fight Dracula, but Dracula would have been the real Dracula. I would have actually designed him to look like how Marvel's Dracula looks now, not that crap that we saw with Dominic Purcell, Drake. I would have kept some of the essence of what they try to do with Drake, but Dracula would have been serious, and he would have not have just been the villain, but he would always been kind of like trying to sway Blade. Like, why do you why do you protect these people? You should be, this should be your oyster. I would also emphasize other species of vampire like Blade has done over the years. There have been many different species of vampires. Some that don't look human, some that do look human, some that look like giant bats, some that look like giant gargoyle humanoid bats. Do your research once again. There are different factions of vampires. Just once again, so there would be more of a war between different factions of vampires from all over the world, and it would be Dracula, the coming rebirth of Dracula, that would bring about them coming together, and it takes the Night Stalkers to deal with this threat to the human world. So that's kind of a little bit of an essence how I would have done Blade differently. So yeah. Um, Next up, who is a better swordsman, Blade or Deathstroke? Ooh, good question. I'll probably have to say I'll probably have to say Blade. No, Deathstroke is maybe a little bit better than Blade. Just saying. No disrespect to Blade. Blade is a good swordsman, but I'm gonna have to say, you know, Deathstroke. Deathstroke. Okay. But thanks, Darth Venom, for the questions. I move on to the next, and this comes from Shadow God for you, my friend Devin. Hey, Devin. Hey, bro. How you doing? As always, I'm well. Uh, did you see all the Blade movies in theaters? No, I didn't. Um, didn't see Blade Trinity in movie theaters. Uh, but the other two I did see. The Trinity I didn't. And that wasn't not just because Triple H was in it. No, it was. I just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't. I think there was something else out that was out that I wanted to see more than that. Um, so no. Can you recommend some Blade comics for first timers to read? Um, I always recommend. I always recommend anybody who wants to get into a character go back to the beginning. Go back to where they first appeared. His first appearance in Tomb of Dracula. Go back to that. I mean, it's goofy, but go back to that, and then go from the then there's the Blade Max series that was pretty good. Then there was a couple of he had the Night Stalker series was good. The Mark Guggenheim's run was pretty damn good as well. And so those are some of the runs to go with. I can't wait till his new run comes out with his daughter. You know, he's gonna have a daughter now. So yeah. So yeah, those are some. Next up, oh, let me go back to the feed. Sorry. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Next question. Wit Dragon. Hey Juan, how you doing? Do you remember Blade's appearance on the Spider-Man animated series, which aired like a few years before the first movie? Yep, I remember, and I knew exactly who that was. I was like, no way they put Blade on it. And that version of that the animated version of Blade was pretty cool, but of course, being to the fact that the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, which was on Fox, has so much restriction. They altered his origin a lot. Saying that he grew up in New Orleans, which isn't true. He grew up in England. Um, his mother saying that his father was a vampire. His father wasn't a vampire until later on. Um, she fell in love with a vampire. I'm like, no, that ain't what happened. They changed a lot of it, and of course, he didn't have a real blade. He had like a lightsaber like sword. I thought it was kind of weird, but he always like growled, and he like had this very deep night voice and thing. I was like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Uh, but it was cool, and they had him kind of fall in love with the female cop. I guess who was actually supposed to be Jean DeWolf, but they made her a character known as Terry Lee. So it was like, it was cool, and but It was fine. I didn't mind it too much. What do you think of the Blade TV series that used to air on Spike? I watched that series, that Sticky Fingers. Sticky Fingers. He was Blade, and I think this series took place in Detroit. So the series was not all that bad. I just feel that Sticky kind of he found his niche with the character way too late. He found it way too late when the series was going to get canceled. By the time the series got was ending, when it got really down to the wire, that's when Sticky really started to act like Blade, and that was where I was like, okay, now you're starting to act like Blade. But before then, it was just I kind of was like, he's not acting like Blade. Like it's not Blade. It's just the way it was for me, kind of. Next question: What do you think of Blade taking on vampires from the Quentin Tarantino from Dusk Till Dawn in a crossover? Ooh, that'd be great. I'll take that. I take that. A joint partnership between Marvel and Quentin Tarantino, where maybe Tarantino actually co-writes it with another writer. I would take it. I would do it. Because Quentin Tarantino did a good job co-writing the Django and Zorro crossover. So yeah. Would you? What do you think if Blade taking on vampires from 30 Days of Night in a crossover? Ooh, great! Another good crossover. Good stuff. So yeah. All right. Next question. Oh, let me go back to the feed. All right. Some questions come up there. I'll get to those in a minute. Next up from Dash Raymond. Hey Dash, how you doing? Did you like Blade on the Ultimate Spider-Man animated series and Ultimate Spider-Man animated series? I don't really watch Ultimate Spider-Man because that's more for kids, and it does expose them kids. I like that it exposes them to different characters of the Marvel universe, but it just when Blade did guest star on that, he was voiced by Terry Crews, and this was the same guy that went on record and blasted a lot of characters of color, including Luke Cage and Blade. And I'm just like, but dude, like now, so you all that crap you just said, now you're voicing the character. Um, but I didn't watch it. I heard maybe I saw a clip of it, and I was just like, okay, but I didn't watch it, and it was okay. I can I say I liked it. I can't really say if I liked it or did not like it because I only watched a clip. Um, Next question: Was Blade ever on a team outside of the Midnight Suns? Yes. For all those who don't know, yes, Blade was on, of course, the Night Stalkers, but that's kind of part of the Midnight Suns as well. He's been with Captain Britain and MI13 when Dracula tried to take over all of England. Um, he's also been on the Mighty Avengers uh, that Luke was running again. He was actually Ronin in disguise because something Blade did something that he needed to go under disguise, but Marvel did a poor job did a poor job of hiding that. And because at first he was in disguise as this character called Spider Hero, and I'm like, and then when you saw him later on, I'm like, yeah, you're not hiding it. And then even when Ronan put on, he was in the Ronan costume, but he put on the black trench coat, and it was like, Marvel, you just shot yourself in the foot with that one. So Marvel had to blatantly come on and say, yeah, Blade is Ronan. So he's been on other teams. Blade TV series with Sticky Fingers. Thoughts on it? I just answered that. It got good when it to the end, which is kind of sad. Um, the next question is: could you walk 24 hours in Blade's shoes? Ooh, good question. Could I walk 24 hours in Blade's shoes? Could I walk in Blade's shoes if I had his skills? I probably could for 24 hours. I could probably do it. Uh, so yeah, I could do it probably. Next up. So thank you Dash for the questions. Moving on to Fierce Lion. Love that name too. Fierce Lion. Name a character you'd love to see Blade crossover with. Vampire Hunter D. D from Vampire Hunter D. If not just him, Dante. Those are two. Those they just popped in my head. Number two. Did you like the Blade anime series? I did enjoy the Blade anime series. I thought it was cool because vampires and anime go great together. The only problem I had, the problem with, is like he only knew like one special technique or something. It was just like, really? It's like, what the hell? But other than that, they kept the true origin of Blade, which I applauded them for. I was like, yeah, they got it. Number three, is it true Blade's mom was a hooker? Um, I won't necessarily say she was a hooker, but she did work in a brothel house. She worked in a brothel. And of course, one night she was bitten by a vampire known as Deacon Frost. Um, and she was pregnant at the time, but she worked in a brothel in England during the 1920s. Blade was born in 9. I forget what month and date, but they do have the date. But you'll probably look up, research the day Black Thursday. That date is when Blade was born. If anybody knows their history, Black Thursday was the day the stock market crashed and pretty much started the Great Depression during that time. So yeah. Uh, and Blade was born in England. Yes, he was born in England. He's British. He's British. I will never forget when Blade actually told Captain Britain when he came to see MI13 to help out with the vampire situation, and he was talking to Captain Britain, Brian Braddock, and he said, I was born here, and almost everybody a part of MI13, uh, they were just like, wait, really? Really? Like they thought he was uh, African American, but he wasn't. It's so cool. I thought that was like a mind wow. Then they wrote that really well. So yeah, Blade was born in England. Yes. Let's see. Next up. Next questions. Let me go to the feed. Let me just look at the feed real quick. Let's see. Here we go. 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 Let's just tick 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 tick. Let's. All right. Uh. Okay. I'm gonna answer Perry King's question. Let me answer this question. Right. What would happen if Blade was in the Resident Evil universe? Umbrella better beware because Blade's coming through and he's gonna wreak some havoc. Uh, Blade taking on Wesker, I would die. Oh, I would love to see that. That would be some ill shit right there. Um, Blade taking on the Tyrant. Blade taking on the Lickers. Blade taking on Nemesis. Ooh, good stuff. Jacob, your first question, bro. Has Blade ever had a legit GF or girlfriend? Kinda, yes, he has. What is her name from? Uh, she was part of MI13. I actually have a picture of her. I'm just trying to remember her name. Uh, let me make sure I remember her name. Spitfire. He started dating Spitfire for a while. So yeah, there you go. If you don't know who Spitfire is, researcher. She's a speedster from the Invaders, MI13, people like that. She works a lot with Union Jack. Good characters. All right, and the last questions that are on is come from Miko Trammell, and he says, "Is Blade a daywalker?" Yeah, he's a daywalker. It's not a joke of why he's called that. It's not. That's not a just a catchphrase. It's a fact. He's a daywalker. He has all their strengths, but none of the vampire's weaknesses. So he can walk out in the day of bright day sunlight, not get burnt or killed like that. So yeah, he that's why he's called the daywalker. If so, how long can he stay in the sunlight before vapor? It doesn't bother him. You don't know about Blade, do you? That I'm the right guy to tell you. Yeah, Blade doesn't need to go into the sunlight, or he can only spend a certain amount of time in the sunlight before it start burning him and things like that. Is Blade immune to garlic? Garlic does not do shit. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep that real. Garlic does nothing to vampires in the Marvel universe. It um don't do nothing. So no. What would Blade's role? What would be Blade's role be if he were involved in the recent Secret War event? Um, I'm not sure because he's not. He hasn't. I don't think he's been seen in the Secret Wars. Right. But they're gonna show him. He's got a new series coming out, and so yeah. With a daughter, he has a daughter now. Has Blade ever teamed up with Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange? Yes, he has. Like I said, the Midnight Suns. That was a team of all the supernatural Marvel heroes in on the team. Both Ghost Riders, Dan Kench and his brother Johnny Blaze, Blade, Doctor Strange, you name it, they were all there. So yeah. Next up, okay, Black Doggy Claw. Is Blade weaker or stronger than Spider-Man in strength? He's he's strong, but he's not stronger than Spider-Man. He's not stronger than Spider-Man. Uh, he can't do the kind of things that Spidey can do. Um, Blade, I've never seen Blade legitimately hold up a train He I've never seen him do that. I've never seen Blade really take titanium and just crumble it up like it was nothing. So his strength is different, and kind of vampire strength is a little bit different than superhuman strength. But yeah, Blade, he's not as strong as Spider Man. Um, he's. I remember there was an issue where Spider Man was turned into a vampire. He was able to, handle him, but no, he's not really that stronger than. Uh, he's not that stronger than Spidey. But thank you for the question, doggy. Next up, Blade beats Batman. Kurt Langstrom from Justice League Gods Among Us. What happens? I would definitely see a fight going down, but I also would see Blade literally kind of understanding where Kurt Langstrom is coming from. Like, he knows what that's like, and he would probably help Blade. He'd probably help Kurt Langstrom with maybe, you know, he'd probably help him with, maybe give him, help Dr. Langstrom with the serum. Like, maybe here, analyze this serum. Maybe this will help, or give him a little bit of it, and it'd be cool. I think that would be cool. Um, but yeah, right. Uh, Next question comes from Jacob. Jacob again. Would I like to have Blade be my teacher? In terms of dealing with vampires, yeah. Yeah, I if not him, Vampire Hunter D would also be up there. Um, but yeah, definitely. Next question from Jacob is has Blade died before? Yeah, he has. He's been killed before. Um, Once again, going back to Mark Guggenheim's run of Blade, he he died. Guy killed him. I'm forgetting the name of the guy who killed him, but yeah, Blade has died before. Okay, I got a Twitter question from. I was wondering if there anybody going to be on Twitter. Questions from Twitter. Um, Basically, my Twitter alert is from Son of Light 85. My friend Brian Hutchison Jr. He says basically, has Blade ever met Black Panther? Yeah, they've met before. There was an issue. I'm trying to remember when, but it was a time when it was Black Panther, Brother Voodoo, Luke Cage, and Blade. Those four teamed up. I'm forgetting what they were going up against, but yeah, he's met T'Challa before. He's met him. Um, mhm. Let's see. see. See, refreshing the page. All right, two more questions. What would happen if Blade meets Alucard and the rest of the Helsing organization? Oh my God, who wrote that question? Andre? Yeah. That would probably be if Blade and Alucard met. That would be probably Blade's toughest fight, and Blade would probably die. Um, because Alucard is on a different level of vampire. Um, but if he, yeah, not even gonna lie about that. Um, Jacob, once again, you come back with another question. Sanaya Lathan was Blade's mother. Who would you cast as his mother, bro? Oh, you talking about if they redid Blade's mom for a series? Yeah, it's funny that Sanaya Lathan was Blade's mother in the original Blade movies. Um, it's a beautiful woman right there. Beautiful woman. I'm not even joking. You don't believe me? Go Google her and tell me she's not beautiful. Um, if I was to recast Blade's mother, oh man, who would I get to play her? Let me see. Who would I get to cast? Let me see. Who would I get to cast Blade as Blade's mother? I'm still trying to think. Um, I got it. I got it. Um, Nicole B. Harry, I think that's her name. The actress who plays on Sleepy Hollow. I would cast her as Blade's mother. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go, Jacob. My old friend Jacob. That would be it. Once again, guys, like I said, if you see a guy called Jacob Harper in the chat, that is a guy I've known since third grade. He's one of my oldest friends. He's one of my oldest friends, guys. Um, so yeah, known Jacob for a long time. Uh, what's the next question I see? Andre, uh, have you seen the Blade anime? I answered that already. Yes, I did. I enjoyed it for what it was. They kept the origin of Blade true. I was like, yes. Um, what are your thoughts on the Blade, the TV series that was on Spike? I answered that as well. That's the third time I've been answering this question before. Uh, didn't mind it, but it sticky fingers just by the time he really started to come into the character, it was just too late. I've sorry if I'm creating questions again. My computer messed up on me. No problem. Um, okay. Who is your favorite Blade villain? I answered that as well. Blade doesn't have a lot of villains too much, but there were a couple of them would probably be like I said, was Lilith, the mother of monsters. I thought she was a good villain for Blade. Besides, besides, um, besides Deacon Frost, Dracula is of course up there. Uh, his biological father is up there as well. The So yeah, um, Jacob, you asked me favorite scenes in the first movie. Movies or the first movie? I guess that's what you meant. Okay, first favorite scenes in the first movie. Um, Favorite scenes. Okay, the opening scene where Blade comes and ruins that bloodbath party was pretty cool. You just see Blade just standing there, lifts his head, kind of grins a little bit, and he just starts walking, and then all the vampires know who he is. That's what made it even better. Like I said, another favorite part is where Wesley Snipes broke character. It was like, motherfucker, are you out of your mind? That has me laughing. Another great scene is where Blade chases Deacon Frost when Deacon is in the he's in the sunlight. He's wearing sunscreen or sunblock, and uh, Deacon throws this takes this little girl and just tosses her, and Blade runs after. You see him see how fast he really is, and he just drops her, and then he just goes go home. That was pretty funny. And of course, the flash fight scene, which was great, where Blade had the feed off of I'm forgetting her name, the doctor that was with him, and he just starts beating the crap out of all the Frost's men, and he's just going Frost. And he just that was great. I love that scene. That was great. So yeah, that was a good scene. That was another good. Those are some of my favorite scenes from the first movie. So thank you, Jacob, again. Sinquan, in the comics, who do you think is Blade's baby mama? I have no idea. That's what's going to be really interesting to figuring out who Blade had a child with, and how much did this mother know about, because I would assume that his daughter, I'm forgetting her name though, uh, Thea Gray, I think that's her name. Uh, she has abilities just like her dad. Like she's gonna follow in daddy's footsteps. So that's gonna be really interesting to see as well. Uh, it's the same thing like with Spider Woman. Who is the baby daddy? So I'm looking forward to seeing who's Blade's, the mother of Blade's child in all new Blade. I'm looking forward to that. Um, Shadow Godfrey, hey, bro, I just got a question out of curiosity. Have you heard of the comic series Darkhold pages from the Book of Sins? And does Blade appear in that series? Thanks. Um, Wait a minute. Darkhold pages. Um, Darkhold. I think I've heard of it, Devin. I'm trying to freaking remember. Uh, trying to. I do remember if it's the same Darko Pages that was written by Jerry Conway, then yes, I have. It was co-created by Jerry Conway. I do, but I'm trying to think. Did he? No, he didn't. Blade did not. No, Blade did not appear in that series. Um, it did go into the detail of the first vampire though. Um, and they really went into like Thulsa Doom. This is when a lot of the Conan was still under the world of Conan was still with Marvel, him and Red Sonja. I remember now. Yeah, there we go. So no. Next up, um, how would you think Saya from Blood Plus would react to Blade? Similar to probably similar to Saya would look at Blade like almost like you're kind of like me. She would probably find a kindred spirit in Blade, and I think that would go vice versa for Blade. I would love to see Blade and Blood Plus. That was a good series. Any thoughts on Blade's daughter? I'm looking forward to that, Andre. I'm looking forward to seeing Faye Gray, what she's gonna do and how good is she gonna be? Is she gonna be a chip off the shoulder, like chip off the block like her old man, or is she gonna be, like she's gonna, or are they gonna go the different route of like she's not really a part of that world? We'll have to see, but I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's go next up. Sinquan, what would D from Vampire Hunter think of Blade and vice versa? Pretty much the same thing, kindred spirit. You're like me, But the thing is, I think Blade would be a little bit tripped off when if he saw D's hand talking. Like what the fuck? Like what the hell is that? What's what you do? Like they'd be like, dude, what's with your hand? Like that would that would be interesting. But yeah. How would Blade react to the world of Castlevania? Ooh, good stuff. I would. That's a crossover I would take. I would love to see that. Blade and uh, the original hero teaming up to fight Dracula. Damn it, I'm forgetting his name right now. But yeah, that'd be great. Uh, Blade. How would Blade react to Hellboy and the BPRD? I think he would be impressed. I think he would be a little bit impressed. Like, okay, there is a group that's actually kind of dealing with this, kind of in a sense. So I think he would respect it. Like, okay, so yeah. Next question comes from Jacob Parker once again. Hey Jacob, once again, how did you like Blade in Ultimate Marvel Ultimate Alliance? I thought he was cool. I was glad to see them put him in it. His voice was pretty cool. He had that really kind of deep voice. Um, but I thought he was cool. I love Marvel Ultimate Alliance, especially the first one. I love the first one more than the second one. Because I really thought the second one should have continued the storyline of the first one. Any monster of mythos that you would love to see Blade fight against? The Rookarok. Do your research on that. Um, if not the Rookarok, the Korean demon. What's her name? What's the damn name of the Korean demon? Uh, oh crap! I can't remember the name of it. Because I'm a big cryptic. I love the cryptics. Let me see who else I can see. The Rookarok, uh, the the mm, and there's so many. There's so many, Andre. It's not even funny. Uh, well, yeah, there's a lot. Next up, I don't know the answer to this, but has Blade turned anybody to a vampire? No, he's never turned anybody. Uh, because he keeps himself in check with the serum. He and besides, like I said, when his father, when he met his real birth father, um, and he was turned into a vampire to cure his cancer. His father captured him and put him in a cell with this little girl, this girl who was a virgin, and he wanted Blade to feed off of her. And Blade, he did a moment that I give him a lot of respect for is he chewed off his own hand to stop his craving because the serum was wearing off of him, sin, and he chewed off his own hand. That was Mark Guggenheim's run of Blade. Check it out if you don't mind. Okay. Um, Jacob chewed his own hand. Yes, he chewed his own hand off. He was. You could see him. You could see him, Jacob. Uh, Try to find it. Try to find what Mark Guggenheim's run. If you go to your local comic stores or order online, wherever, look for it. Um, Basically, um, he was locked into a cell with this girl. He was chained up at first, and she was free. His serum was running off, so his cravings for blood was coming. He, you know, he got enough to the point he broke his chains, and you see him fighting it. He's fighting. He's fighting, trying not to. Just see his fangs coming out, and you almost, in a sense, you literally see Blade about to cry. That's what really sold it too. Like he's about to cry because he doesn't want to do this. Blade, and he just goes, "Ah!" And you just see him biting his hand, ripped his whole hand off, chewed his hand off. It was crazy. Let's see. Next question: Blade versus Lopan from oh my God, Big Trouble in Little China. What happens? That'd be interesting. Man, I haven't seen that movie in so long, so I can't really answer it legitimately because I haven't seen that movie in so long. But that'd be interesting. Blade meets Vampire Batman. You're talking about Batman from Gods and Monsters. Somebody already beat you to that question already, Andre. So so we're gonna So we're gonna keep this going a little bit longer before I wrap this up. So still going, still going. Question Jacob asks: do you think your girl Gail Simone could write Blade? Why'd you bring her into this? It's bad enough you guys brought Mark Wade into this, as you all know I love Mark Wade, but now you bring Auntie Gail. You know how I feel about Gail. I'm a Gail Simone fanboy, and I'm trying not to be biased here, but it's just I think this woman could write any character and make it work. But so yeah, I think yeah, I think she could write Blade. So yeah, I think so. I think you could. Next up, Andre asks, how would Blade react to Ash from Evil Dead? That'd be cool. Can't wait to see Evil Ash versus the Evil Dead this Saturday. Um, Shout out to Bruce Campbell. Uh, one moment, guys. Apologize for that, guys. Phone. Um, Ash. First of all, I think Ash would be more like. I mean, he's seen stuff too, but you know, seeing Blade, I think he'd be like, "Whoa, who the hell? This dude is pretty interesting." So I think that would also be one factor, but I think Blade would also kind of be a little bit with Ash, like, especially I think he would get on Ash. I think he would respect Ash for trying to clean up the mess that he kind of made with the Necronomicon, but I think he also be like, see, this is why motherfuckers shouldn't be touching shit. They got no business touching it. I think there would be some respect for, especially for Ash, and like, I think he would respect it. Yeah, you cut your own arm off, for that. Okay. Uh, Question. So here's a what if. What if Whistler's daughter turns out to be Blade's baby mama? The problem with that sin is that Whistler never existed in the Marvel universe to begin with. A lot of people keep thinking that Whistler trained Blade. Blade was trained by a jazz musician who was actually a vampire, and I can't remember his name. And you know what? I'm gonna go look it up right now so I can remember his name. Um, Let me try to remember his name. Who taught him how to the ways of dealing with vampires? But like I said, his first appearance was in Tomb of Dracula, number 10, back in 1973. Let's see. All right. So, um, let me see. Um, okay, there it is. He was the man that trained him how to, who was actually a jazz trum, uh, trumpeter. He played the trombone, but he was also a vampire. Uh, his name was Jamal Afri. That's who he was. That's who trained Blade. Whistler didn't until later on. That's when they started adding Whistler. So yeah, that's who Blade. That's who Blade was trained by. But I'm not saying that it'd be interesting if they did do that. Really, I didn't know that. I just got learned. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, like I said, guys, if anybody don't know a lot about Blade, I'm here. I can help. Like I know Blade a lot. So yeah. So yeah. So I definitely know a lot about Blade. Next up, could you imagine Blade fitting in the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Yeah, I could. But like I said before, I would rather have Blade on a Netflix series in that corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but after Doctor Strange, because I think that opens up the world. Doctor Strange opens up the whole supernatural realm and kind of explain where vampires come from. You could actually say that vampires were from another world, but they entered this realm. There you go. So that would be great. So I wouldn't mind that at all as well. So, let's see. Let's refresh the page. Let's see. Come on, come on. Still loading the page, guys. Sorry. All right. Um, let's see. Next question. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. Okay. What would happen if Blade met a Janshi? Ooh, you mean Chinese vampire? Ooh, good call. That'd be. It would have to be Blade either is in Chinatown somewhere. I would have to, or maybe Blade is in China. Period. So yeah, that'd be Pretty cool. That'd be badass. Somebody would have to write that. Next up from Jacob Harper. Hey, Jacob, who created Blade again? That would be Gene Collins, legendary artist Gene Collins, and Marv Wolfman created Blade. Marv Wolfman, the same guy who created characters like Cyborg and everything like that. Hmm. Yep. And what makes it even cooler, guys, is that Gene, Mr. Cullen, has said that he based Blade, old school Blade, when he first came out in the 70s, off of uh, the legendary football player Jim Brown. He based him kind of off of him. So it's pretty kind of cool to see that. So yeah, those that's something pretty cool to know about Blade if you didn't know that. Um, One thing also that I this should be informing to all you guys about Blade. In the beginning, when Blade first came out, he kind of Mark Woolman did an interview once where he talked about how he wrote Blade in his speech. You know, he spoke what was kind of what he called Black Marvel speech, like kind of more that Ebonics talks. And then by later on, we started to see Blade really become. He started more real, given a more realistic approach instead of like quote unquote a ghetto, vampire hunter or something like that. So no, yeah, it was different then. All right. Um, how would Blade how would Blade react to Marceline? Oh my God, I don't I don't know about that one. Uh, that would be just a little too weird at best. Yeah, a little weird. Mm, okay. What would happen if the Order of the Triad from Venture Brothers met Blade in an alley killing vampires? Never watched Venture Brothers, so I can't answer that question. Never, I never really caught my attention. I never watched the Venture Brothers. Sorry. All right. This is the last question for Jacob. Make sure. Okay, last question from Jacob. He says, last question. Blade meets Van Helsing, Jackman's version. Man, that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Uh, No, I wouldn't mind that at all. Uh, I think I think Blade working with Hugh Jackman's um, version of Van Helsing would be really cool. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. That'd be really cool. Take care, bro. Take care too, Jacob. Uh, let me see. Okay. Last question, and I'm gonna wrap this up. And it comes from Andre. How would you do a Blade story if you could write one? If I was to do Blade, write a Blade story, um, it would probably be a time traveling story where Blade has the chance to kind of like maybe a Back to the Future s story, like change his future. Um, uh, that would pretty much be it. Like change his future, maybe change it for the better. Like stop Deacon from biting him, biting his mom, Tara Brooks, or even going back further and killing the first vampire that came to be in the Marvel universe. So that would be a story I would do. Um, and Frankenstein versus would be interesting as well. I'm not sure who would win, but yeah, I definitely could see. I would definitely. That would be it. But other than that, guys, thank you for your questions. I will be back again with some more another theme Q&A, guys. Um, had a lot of fun answering the questions for the Daywalker Blade. Like I said before, do I feel that Blade deserves another series? I'm looking forward to seeing what Marvel does do with Blade. You know, in terms of will they put him in the movies again universe, that side of the universe, or will they have him in the Netflix series? I feel Netflix is better for him, but I still stand that Marvel needs a straight good plan for him and not just shove him in anything. But other than that, guys, you guys take care. I'll see you guys next time. And this is Mama and Kid. I'm out.